my husband came in holding a badger. This will all make sense later. He's holding a badger.
It's always good to start a story. Well, this will make sense later when we don't need no stinking badgers.
I know. What is the badger doing?
This is Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide and we see God. We see His hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention, inviting us into a closer relationship. Here we share stories of encounter with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome to episode 108, entitled Mary, His Messenger. Just happens to be also the title of our brand new CD download about the big global events. Jesus keeps sending Mom. With some huge messages for us. And I didn't have a plan to do a Mary CD until the dream, which, by the way, it was 8 months ago today. It was exactly 8 months ago today that I had this dream. I had fallen asleep in church. Been there? No, not you, of course not. Anyway, I fell asleep. I bet it was 30 seconds, no more than 30 seconds in which I had this dream. And the symbolism when I woke up was not snoring that I know of. But in particular, on this day, the nudge, because I was preparing to give a Mary talk in just a couple of days, was, you really need to know more about Mary. And I was like, I do? Anyway, it sent me down this road to this CD, and on the CD, in just the last several months, there's, I bet 80% of what's on the CD I didn't know until just the last few months, 80%. So I think you'll find some interesting new information there as well. So to order the CD or just get the download, come right here to episode 108 at touchedbyheaven.net and click on through to Mary, His Messenger. It's also available at trapperjackspeaks.com. All right. Now then, as I record this, we're closing in on Mother's Day. See, you're getting the Mary, Heavenly Mom, and the Earthly Mom thing going on here. So no matter when you hear this, happy Mother's Day to all moms. But let's combine this Heavenly Mom, Earthly Mom kind of thing here with some stories today. Personal times when Jesus sent Mom to listeners. I thought I'd go back and get a couple of older stories that maybe you've never heard, depending on when you start to listen to the podcast. Plus, I throw in a new conversation, somebody that just downloaded the CD, but also said, I've got a Mary story for you. So I thought, okay, I'll throw that in here too. 2 years ago, episode 6, when I was talking to Dar Harold about her experience, it had to do with the night her mom passed away. So let's go to that night, if you will, as Dar Harold remembers.
So Mary was her, people would say saint of choice, but it was very important to her when she got married. She wanted roses at her wedding so she can give to Mary. So it was a very big part of her life, her being. So she was very religious. Well, in let's say July of 2001, she was starting to decline, not doing well. Going in and out of the hospital. And then eventually they just told us that there wasn't much else they can do for her. So we decided she wanted to be home. Not even, a few days she had been home. And I was kind of hanging out there a lot. So I was there all day with her and all evening. And I got her into bed and she had been on oxygen. And she was just so happy to be in bed. So I said goodnight to her and everything. And then I went in the living room to hang around with my dad for a little bit. I told my dad, okay, I'm going home. I'm tired anyway. So I went home, went to bed. Around 2 a.m, I woke up. I looked at the clock. I said, oh, why am I getting up now? I just went to sleep a couple hours ago. And I was on my side and I looked, Jim was next to me. I look over his shoulder and there was a vision unlike I've ever seen. And all of a sudden I had such complete peace over me. It was just like so calming and just so, I was in awe. And here it was. And what I would recognize, I knew immediately was Mary, but unlike any depiction you've ever seen of her. I mean, she was wearing white and kind of like a veil over her head, but not, like I said, nothing that I've ever seen, and I've seen every holy card, every depiction of Mary known. And it was nothing like what I've seen. And just such a beautiful smile on her face, just looking at me. And I rubbed my eyes. I'm like, okay, I am dreaming. I poked Jim. He wasn't waking up. and she was just over his shoulder, and it was very brief. And then she was gone. And I thought, oh my God, what am I, I'm not dreaming. What the heck did I just see? This is unbelievable. I'm like, it was gorgeous and peaceful and just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I felt so much I just like happiness. It just felt so good. And not even an hour, I think it was maybe close to 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang and my dad said that my mom had passed. And didn't give this a whole lot of thought at the time. I was just freaked out that my dad had called and ran over there. But it was just unbelievable. One of the most unbelievable things I had ever seen.
On the phone call end,
yeah.
You how soon before you connected the two events?
Oh, it was later that day. And I had told Jim immediately. I said, "Oh my God, the weirdest thing just happened to me," because right before Dad called to tell me she died, I saw Mary. And he's like, "What?" And I explained it to him, and it was just, it was unbelievable. I think it was just later that morning. I just could not believe that, and I felt immediately it was her way of telling me everything was okay.
Absolutely.
I was just very worried. Because I always kind of considered myself like my mom's caretaker, even though my dad was around. I just always thought I was the one to take care of her, and now I can't take care of her, and who's taking care of her, and is she really okay? Where she is she in heaven? Somebody watching out for her? And then, after I saw Mary and then she passed and I put it all together, I thought, what, I think she's okay. It was her way of telling me she's all right.
Beautifully so. I mean, the smile. You say you've never seen any depiction of Mary this way. In the sense of, is that a comment about what she was wearing, about her face? What?
Yeah, about her face, her looks, her eyes, just like beautiful, just gorgeous, common. She just looked very common, like a common person you'd see.
But beautiful. But it's
beautiful.
Because those who have seen her talk about there's no way to describe how she looks. There's no way to recreate. I know over at our Lourdes, Our Lady of Lourdes in France, they talked about how the statue, there was just no way to make the statue look like her. Bernadette was going, yeah, that's not, or whoever was,
right.
Yeah, it must have been Bernadette who was kind of like judging the artist work. Is like, nah.
Yes.
And that's true. That repeats itself over and over again because there's no way to depict perfection.
Correct.
And this is Heavenly Mary.
But everything in white. Mm-hmm. Everything was white, and it was just, kind of like you said, very pure, just very, and just a happy feeling, like oh my goodness, never had that feeling since. You know what I mean? It's just very hard to describe.
Reassuring and smiling because she made it to heaven. Otherwise, Mary's not showing up. There's just no question. She's not showing up unless she's in heaven.
Right.
And reassuring you that she's in heaven. We got another one. We got another one on our side.
Yes.
Now,
absolutely.
for you, now obviously you talk about your mom and how the devotion she had for Mary. When you look at that reverence, did you ever? I'm going to assume you never quite attained the same kind of reverence because few people do. But talk about your relationship with Mary. Was there one at all?
Yeah, nothing like what my mom had. And I kind of just, like I said, she was Jesus' mother. She was very special, chosen. But I didn't feel like I had that personal relationship with her. Like my mom did. And I just, I always, prayed to her and admired her, but never that closeness until that has happened. And now, when I'm really stuck and I feel like I need my mom, I go to her. She's my mom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Mom, and not my mom that was here on earth, but she's my mom. So it has changed my relationship tremendously with her. She's, Jesus is for me. I mean, he's the one I go to. He's my go-to all the time. But when I need something special or I need more comfort that like a mom would give you, she's the one I go to, and she always comes through for me now.
Perfect. That's exactly that's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. That's perfect.
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
It's all part of the family. It's all part of the body of Christ, all part of the family. That's our mom.
It is.
He shares his mom. It's perfect.
That's right.
Does that mean rosary for you or not?
No,
Okay.
but I pray the Hail Mary every night.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do the whole rosary. I'm just very much into Our Father, Hail Mary, and good thank yous and good conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
Help me to be a better mom, help me to, have patience and a lot of the virtues that you had, that kind of thing. After that, I did ask for some more signs that she was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't want to know, I don't want to know everything. I just want to know she's okay. And I know you gave me the biggest sign. I said, but I just want some extra reassurance now that I'm not in that moment. And it was very weird because, my mom, always tied roses to Mary. It was very special for her, roses and Mary. And a few days later, I had looked in the mailbox and there were rose petals in the mailbox. I had been given another sign, and it was just a few. And the odd part about it is there are no rose bushes anywhere near the mailbox. It's a mailbox that comes into the house, so it's not like one on the street. Just the oddest thing. But that was my last thing I had asked for as reassurance that everything was good and she was okay.
Red roses.
Perfect.
They were red.
Red rose. Yep.
Yeah.
Red rose petals.
That's Mary.
And that's fun too, because my dad has he had some rose bushes in the backyard, but no red.
That's beautiful. Yeah. How perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Thanks again, Dar. So perfect, right? So perfect for Dar, her mom, absolutely loving Mary, that Mary would then come to Dar and say, got her, she's home with me, happy, and she's happy. To have that smile, that reassuring smile saying, we've got her in heaven, and you're going to see her again. So very cool, very cool. I thought I would, I'm going to introduce you now to Karen. Karen, I was just talking to this past week. She downloaded the CD, Mary, his messenger. And then she fired off an email to me saying, by the way, I have a Mary story. And it involves a dream, And it wasn't in a church. No, she had a dream in a normal place, So, and the dream is what gave her reassurance and a beautiful message for Mary. And this is someone who did not grow up Catholic, did not grow up, with the rosary in the hand and all that kind of thing. So this is interesting. Karen lives in Alberta, Canada, along with her family. They are farmers. And hubby is out in the North 40 somewhere or something.
Yes, yeah. We farm, so he's busy seeding for the next few weeks. So he's nose to the grindstone.
Ah, well, that hurts.
Yeah,
I would use something else. Because you say you have a Mary thing. What's your Mary thing?
I do have a Mary story. Such a long story. I hope you don't mind listening to it, but.
Got nothing but time. I'm not going out to my North 40 for hours, so don't worry about it.
Okay, your seeds
I have the sheep out there. Got sheep.
Okay, so you're just shepherding this morning. So
that's what I do. I shepherd. That's it. Scary thought. Scary.
Okay, well, I'm a teacher, and I taught kindergarten grade 1. I'm retired now. I just retired in the last couple of years. I was at school one day and I got a phone call from my doctor because I'd been for a ultrasound, and I got a phone call in the middle of the day, which is totally unusual to be pulled out of class for a phone call. And he told me, you have a mass growing on your ovaries. I want you to go get blood work after school. I want you to see an obstetrician or OBGYN. I want you to see a gynecologist on Monday. I'm setting it up. He was very worried, and that worried me. And he was like, I think you have ovarian cancer. And on this one, it showed up that, yes, I did have a mass. There was blood in it, it was needed to be checked. And my aunt had ovarian cancer and mother had uterine cancer. So I've always been aware of. I came home, told my husband and whatnot. And that night, I had a dream. There was one dream, then there was another dream. And then the next night I had another dream. So they're all related. So the first dream, I was in my house, and my husband came in with holding a badger. This will all make sense later. He was holding a badger. And
it's always good to start a story with this will make sense later when we don't need no stinking badgers.
I know. What is a badger doing? Anyway, he brought a badger into my house, and I just was screaming. I was hysterical. I was like, get that out of here. I don't, it's going to hurt my kids. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt me. Like, get it out. And he just said, no, Karen, it's going to be okay. Like, just look at it. Like, they don't have claws. Look at it. Look at it. And I was like, just screaming, no, get it out. And he took 2 x-rays, put them up on the cupboard and said, see how this badger has these stripes, but this badger doesn't. Anyway, made no sense. But
this is your husband doing this? This is your husband?
In my dream.
In your dream, he's the one that's putting the x-rays up and saying, look at these badgers.
Yeah. Like, it's okay. This is okay. It's not going to hurt you. These badgers. So then he went and he took the badger and he put it down by my children. They were little in this dream. And that just freaked me out, scared me. And I screamed. And then boom, I went to another dream. It was a dream. And I was in a room and this brightest light, a ball of light, hugged me. And it just was like the incredible feeling of love, like an immense, it's hard to explain, immense love coming from this bright ball of light that just hugged me and just gave me such peace. When the ball of light hugged me, he told me his name was Alan. And then there was a knock at the door and a lady inside said, oh, it's the mother of all the children. And she opened the door and she was in a robish kind of outfit. And she had a bouquet of roses. First she said to me, have you seen Alain? And then in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I called him Alan and his name is Alain. And I was just embarrassed in my head. I'm like, oh, I called him Alain or Alan. And she said, have you seen Alain? And I said, yes, I did. And so she handed me a bouquet of beautiful dark pink roses. And so that I could prove to her, the mother of the children, that I'd seen Alain, I went to hand him to him, but he was invisible, right? He was more like a spirit. And so I wanted her to know that I'd seen him. So I kind of reached them out to the air towards him. And he took the roses and they shot across the room, out a hole. I was extremely scared. And then the woman said to me, don't be afraid. This was not meant to scare you. I want to explain. And so she explained the dream with the badgers. She explained that the badgers isn't going to hurt you. It's representing the mass. It's not going to hurt you.
The mass that's on your ovaries.
Ovaries.
Okay.
Yeah. The incredible peace came over me and I understood.
So to this point, you have this woman who's the mother of all the children showing up the roses, kind of a Mary kind of thing there. You have this Alain. Is it a man or a woman, is your sense? A man?
A man.
That's a man. Okay, that's a man.
Yeah.
Although she didn't explain the roses flying out the window, though.
No, come to think of it, no.
Come to think of it. Okay, so roses are flying out the window. Okay,
No.
we'll work on that one.
To me, that was like the mass was leaving and the blessing of the roses, and then out it went.
Okay.
And I was out.
I'm good with that. Okay.
So then when I woke up, I just felt really peaceful and throughout the next couple of days, because I had to see this doctor on Monday. I finally told my husband about this dream and he was like, wow. He's like, I wondered why you were so calm about this and that you're so peaceful about this appointment coming up, because, it just was really bad news. And the doctor was really adamant that this is like, you got to get there right now. I went to the doctor and
Wait a minute. Didn't you say the next night there was another dream?
Oh, yes, right. I forgot to tell you that. Oh my God.
Some of us aren't listening, just saying to the teacher that the class is paying attention, even if the teacher isn't. Okay, go ahead, Karen, go ahead.
So then I told my sister, because she would totally understand this. And she said, Karen, that had to be Mary, because she said, do you know who Alain is? And I'm like, no. She goes, Alain is Blessed Alain, who was with Saint Dominic in recovering the rosary, and he was like a real follower of Mary and the rosary. And so then it was like, oh, Alain, yeah.
Spell it.
It's Alain de la Roche.
Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. He was instrumental in also getting the word out about the rosary. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He and Saint Dominic. Yes. Okay. Now I'm with you.
Yeah. So she told me that, and it was like, well, that makes total sense. The roses, and then the rosary after that. Like I was a converted Catholic. I became Catholic when I got married, and so the rosary was never something I did. I didn't grow up with it. I didn't really understand it or get it. And after that dream, the rosary it just was like, I need to pray the rosary. And for the first time, my husband and I started praying the rosary together. He's a Catholic, cradle Catholic. Yeah, he's, so he would pray the rosary, but we did together, and it got us praying together with the rosary. And I love the rosary. And now it's just a really big part of my daily prayer for sure. Then the next night, I had another dream, and I was with, I don't know, someone that brought me to a room with a square wooden coffee table with two babies around it, maybe 18-month-old toddlers standing there. And I was up above, and I reached out my hand, and the one baby reached up and grabbed my finger, and I said to the baby, "Oh, you're my future grandchildren." So I felt like I was brought to see my future grandchildren, to know that I was going to be okay. And it just gave me, again, an incredible peace, and it was going to be okay. Don't worry. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
Then on the Monday, I went to my appointment. Of course, it's in the back of my mind, but I felt like no, like I was given this vision of the future with, I've got to believe that this is going to be okay. Like I felt Mary had said. And I went in, and he's like, "There's nothing there. You have nothing. You look totally fine. You're fine. Go home. You're good." Anyway, it was gone, and all was well. And so that was kind of that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you didn't have a relationship with Mary up until you were married and all that, and then kind of got introduced to her.
I never maybe appreciated Mary for the role she was really playing. And I always kind of thought, well, if I pray to her, is that like with the statues? Am I like, is that wrong? Like, I don't know. Is that right? Aren't I supposed to pray this to Jesus? I just didn't understand it. And although like when in the church, when I was going, I still really accepted Mary, and I loved the Mary songs, and I saw the importance of Mary. So after that dream, I just had this immense need and to pray the rosary. It really made a big change in our life. Just like it was just a profound moment to make me appreciate that and pray the rosary for sure.
It's a Bible in your pocket. It's just you're thinking about the different times in Jesus' life and Mary's life too. And it's really funny. People will say that, why would you pray to Mary when you got Jesus right there? Well, why would you go ask a human being to pray for you then?
Yes,
it's the same thing. You're asking someone to pray for you, and it's like, so you're asking someone who is in heaven, who is completely pure. That person's prayer has a lot more power than mine does. So guess what?
Yes.
Guess what?
Yes.
Oh, and the other thing that you just reminded me of, the statue thing, because people get, what's with the statues? You're worshiping statues. This is idol worship and all that. No, that's just like carrying around a picture of somebody. That just helps the visualization a little bit. Something else I just found out, it's in Exodus. When you walked underneath the tent that carried, the Ark of the Covenant, it was their traveling tabernacle. When you went into the inner circle, where the inner, the Holy of the Holies, on top of the Ark of the Covenant, on top of the box, were two statues of angels, two angels. Why? Because you were now stepping into heaven, that connection with heaven. And who is in heaven? God's in heaven. The angels are in heaven. The gates of heaven were closed until Christ, when Christ, died on the cross. Who's in heaven today? Well, it's the angels, but it's also Mary and Joseph and all the saints. So that's why you'll see statues in a Catholic church, because you're walking into heaven, just as the Israelites you were walking to heaven when walking underneath under the tent there, So it's an outgrowth of that Jewish faith. Yeah.
Well, I like that explanation. Yeah, that is good.
Anything in particular that you heard on the CD that you liked?
Oh, there's so much. I love the whole thing. I love the story. I'd never known the story of the 8 priests that were saved in the Hiroshima.
That's an amazing story. Amazing.
I love that. And I loved how it was, you synchronized it with the Great Fire, where the when the walls of Jericho fell.
Don't give that one away yet. They have to hear that. They have to hear that on their own if they haven't heard that. But there's a heck of a connection, Old Testament to World War II, and something Mary did for the United States of America, something she did for the U.S. that is just, and for the world, ultimately. She protected us during that war so much. And all of that, the entire CD came off of a dream.
That's neat. So you get those dreams too that come.
Kinda, sort of, in a way.
And that's why I was like, okay, I'm not afraid to tell my dream, because that involved interpretation, and you did an awesome job of that. That was really neat. And it's just nice to see that other people have these things, and that I'm not weird, and that it's actually, other people have this too, and it's just so nice to be able to talk about it in a safe place where you get it and understand, how profound those experiences are in our dreams too, for sure.
All right, Karen, thank you so much for this. I so appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you listening.
Okay, God bless.
Okay. God bless you.
All right,
bye-bye.
Thanks again, Karen. There was a little nugget in there too, I thought, in her dream. The woman who's the mother of all the children's at the door is like, yeah, she is. She is the heavenly mom. Jesus, of course, as the second person of the Holy Trinity, got to make his own mom, had to make her in a way that was fitting, that he, as God, could be placed within her. And our heavenly mom is listening, Mom, to your prayers. And this is a great example of that. What was it, about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, I was talking to Laura down in Sydney, Australia. She is a twin. And there was a good twin and the not so good twin, and Laura was the not so good twin. And she was just headed down a horrible path for many, many years until Mom's prayers were answered.
At the time, didn't bother me at all. I had no conscience about it. I didn't care, basically.
During all of this, Laura's mom, of course, is praying to Mary to intercede for her, to bring her daughter back. She knows Laura's not on the right path. And so she just keeps praying every night. She's got prayers for Laura. Well, when Laura was in her early 20s, Laura had an experience. She's sleeping. It's the middle of the night, and something wakes her up. Light. There's light in the room. She sees this gold light on her eyes.
It sort of brought me out of my sleep, and I thought, what is that light? And my instinct was to, get rid of it because it's waking me up. And as I opened my eyes, I sat up in bed and I saw what I can only describe as a globe, like a golden ball of light. It came in through my window and it was sort of hovering around the foot of my bed. And I'm staring at this light thinking, I'm dreaming, right? This isn't happening. And I was punching myself and pinching myself and slapping my face because I was trying to convince myself that I was asleep, but I was actually awake. And, I woke up the next day with bruises on my arm from where I pinched so hard. And the light sort of stopped moving and it began to grow. And from within this ball, I saw the Virgin Mary standing. And even though the ball was at the foot of my bed and was close to me, her image inside the light was distant. That's the only way I can describe it. And I kept just saying, what am I seeing? What am I seeing? And she didn't speak to me, but she just raised her right hand and motioned for me to come to her. And when she did that, I was overcome with this sense of panic and urgency. And I realized what I was seeing. And I was so scared that I threw myself back into the bed and put the covers over my head. And I was sweating and shaking. And as soon as I did that, the light in my room, because my whole room was lit up, the light was gone.
Laura wasn't sure what to make of all that, but she thought her mom might have some input on it. So next morning she goes in the kitchen and Mom's there and she's peeling potatoes. And she told her mom about what had happened. And surprisingly to Laura, Mom wasn't surprised.
Laura, I'm praying for you to Our Lady every single day that you come back to God. And I just went, well, stop doing that because I don't want to have one of those experiences again. It scared me.
Her mom's comments had no effect on her. The events of the night had no effect on her. She continued down the same path. Nothing had changed. In fact, she says things really kind of got worse as time went on.
By the time I was 28, I had broken every commandment, and I just wasn't interested in God.
Then Laura meets a new guy. She likes this guy. She likes this guy a lot. She falls in love with this guy.
I finally had found the one I'd been searching for all my life. And, you know, I did fall deeply, deeply in love with this person. But it was a little bit flawed from the start. He and I sort of, you know, we both did drugs, we both partied, we both did all those things that, you know, are culturally acceptable as a young person in your, you know, in your 20s in Australia. And I got into trouble again, and I had my second abortion. And again, didn't bother me, no conscience about it, just procedure, get it over and done with, get on with life.
And to go along with that, they broke up. And she always thought this was the guy. This was the guy she was going to marry. This was the guy she was going to have a family with. This was the happily ever after stuff. And it was over. And that devastated her. And she started getting more reflective about a lot of things in her life. She started looking at all the decisions that she had made and how those decisions had led to this point. And she just knew that she had made a lot of wrong decisions. And she just started looking at her life and even looking at her home. And she started making some changes.
Suddenly having the urge to just get rid of everything linked to the occult. And I went through the bookshelf. I threw out all my books. I threw out my tarot cards. I threw anything linked to any bad choice I've ever made. I threw it in a box and I got rid of it. And then I started searching for the Bible. And I found it.
What did that? I mean, why suddenly, boom, the occult is gone? What was the switch?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of the fact that my mum was still praying for me every day. And I think that, you know, through her prayers, I mean, a mother praying for her child is so powerful. And my mum's devotion to Our Lady for me would have been the thing that, you know, God allowed a grace in my heart for me to be moved to understand that that's where it all began. That's the only way I can explain it. So, you know, maybe it was the Holy Spirit. But I felt like that was what I needed to do. I just felt urged to do it.
The road back to God always begins with, I'm sorry.
I was sitting on my bed and I was crying a sea of tears and asking God to forgive me and going through every bad choice I'd ever made and howling, like I was literally howling and clutching this Bible and begging just for a moment for God to just take this heartache away from me, because it was there morning, noon and night. I couldn't escape this pain that I was feeling. And I don't think it was just the pain from the breakup. I think it was the pain that I had pushed down from those 2 children that I might have had that I basically aborted. You know, I think it was the pain from all of the trauma that I'd been through, an explosion of all of that pent up stuff. And I begged God to intervene. And my prayer was, please just take this pain away. Please just take the pain away. And I fell asleep on my bed.
Laura sleeps for a few hours. And then again, she is awakened. Again, by a light.
When I opened my eyes, I was encased, and I can only describe it like I was in a cocoon covering my whole body, and it was a blue light. And I felt so at peace, like a peace you can't imagine. Multiply that by a zillion. I felt so peaceful and so filled with joy and so loved. And I realized, this all sort of came to me in the matter of seconds, but I realized that standing on the left side of me next to my bed, Our Lady was standing next to me and her arms were outstretched over my body, and the light was coming from her arms. She was the one encasing me in this beautiful blue light. And I can still see she was sort of translucent. She wasn't like a full-bodied person, and I could see her blue mantle draped over the side of my bed. And then the very next second I realized that Jesus is standing at the foot of my bed. And I didn't see him from the face up. I saw him sort of from the chest down, and not, you know, people describe him in all his glory in a white gown. That's not how he appeared to me. I saw him as Christ crucified, and I saw him, you know, wounded and bloody. And the cloth that he wore when they put it on him, it was white, but now it's but when he appeared to me, it was scarlet red, and it was his blood. It was covered in his blood. That's what I understood straight away. And I also understood that I was seeing him like this because he was showing me that they were my sins that he took on the cross, that he took away. And it was such a profound experience. And I immediately started saying, you answered my prayer. You're real. Like, you came to me, in this little suburb in Sydney. You're in my room, and there's people all over the world being killed and tortured and have no food, and you're here answering my prayer. I just felt so loved. I think probably the whole thing lasted about 2 minutes, or maybe less than that. It seemed like a long time, but it was probably not. And my cat, she slept on my bed every night. She was asleep on my bed that night. She must have seen what was going on, because she was at my door scratching and hissing and trying to get out of the room. And I remember saying to Our Lady, "Oh, you've scared the cat. Can you calm her down? Because I know if I get up, this is going to go away." And she kept scratching and clawing and hissing. And so the second I moved a muscle, the whole thing was just gone.
I tell you, you are a perfect example of why mothers, fathers keep praying for their kids. You really are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you.
You
Thank
are.
you.
I mean, every
Yeah.
because everybody has that family member, whether it's their kids or some brothers, sisters.
We need to pray for everyone we meet, even if it's online, that don't believe that and don't know what lies ahead. The choices we make in this life determine where we spend eternity, and people don't realize that. So pray for your children, and don't ever think that they're lost for good and just give up in prayer, because my mum never gave up on me. Night after night, year after year, she prayed for me, and look what happened. God is amazing.
Wow, just such a great story, isn't it? Of conversion, of an earthly mom praying to the heavenly mom. And Mary came through again in this. And now Laura works for the church. I mean, just, wow, talk about a 180. Just beautiful, beautiful. And as I'm putting together this episode, interesting. Songs bubble up in my head, seemingly out of nowhere, but we know where that nowhere is and all that, right? So I'm starting to hear a Beatles song, Here, There, and Everywhere. Here, There, and Everywhere. Here are some of the lyrics in the song. Changing my life with a wave of her hand. Remember, she's lying in bed and there's Mary going, come here, come here. And the next lyric is, nobody can deny that there's something there. Isn't that the truth? With all the Touched by Heaven stories, with these Mary stories, nobody can deny something is going on here. And then the lyric, I want her everywhere. Amen to that. I want her everywhere. Let yourself be known, Mary, everywhere. And I'm going to call an audible here. I'm going to add one more experience. It's real short, but I think we'll go out on something, recent conversation with Jean. It had to do with a dream that she had as well, but it's a beautiful message. So before we do that, though, if you want to check out the CD download called Mary, His Messenger, we're linked here within this episode 108, or you can go to trapperjackspeaks.com. Yes, it has the huge global events like the Guadalupe image and Fatima, some things in Fatima that I didn't know before that don't have anything to do with the third secret. It's related in a different way. That's in there. Information about her as the Ark of the Covenant, something I never used to care about until I heard this story, and it involves the United States of America and therefore the world. There's just some new things in there that I hope you enjoy. I do. I just think that whether or not you love Mary, or you want to know more about her, or if there's someone that you know that you think would benefit by knowing Mary a little bit better, Mary, His Messenger, I think will surprise. I think it'll surprise and fortify and all those things that we wanted to do. So my Patreon shout out this week goes to Miranda. Thank you, Miranda Christie, for helping us out on a monthly basis. You can go to patreon.com and just search for Trapper Jack. And I appreciate that. All right. I'm going to see you next week, right? Oh, I need your story too. Where are you with that story? You've been sitting on a secret and it's time to let it out. It is. Go to touchedbyheaven.net and let me know about your encounter story, okay? And I will see you next week here at Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God.
The Blessed Mother appeared to me in my dream. I saw her in the sky, and she was dressed in blue. She looked beautiful, and she was holding a rose. And she told me that each prayer offered up to God is as beautiful as the rose she was holding. and that it made him happy. And hearing that really impacted my life from that moment to this very day as to the importance of prayer.